Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to another amazing episode of the Jane Warren podcast. I've got an amazing guest with me today. I am so excited. I have Desiree Uzzell, and we know each other through, we're working with the same coach right now, and we are in the same mastermind right now. And I have just been watching your evolution. And today we're going to dive into embodiment and energetics. Des is going to take us on her journey. Oh, yeah, by the way, Desiree, also known as Des, as I'll probably call her this entire episode. She is going to guide us and take us through her journey and how she has truly used embodiment and energetics to get to where she is today. She'll talk about how she does this with her clients. And I'm just so excited because I see the shit that you put out on Instagram and I'm like jaw dropped and I just fucking love it. So, Des, welcome.
Thanks, babe. I'm so happy to be here today. I'm so glad we could finally do this. I feel like we've been planning this for so long.
We have. And Des just had me on her podcast on Friday last week. And I was like, yo, girl, okay, we're making it happen. We're
Let's
booking
do
this right
it.
now. Let's
Exactly.
do it. Okay, so you're doing some incredible stuff right now. It's really amazing. My listeners are brand new to you. So I'd love for you to share about your journey and your journey into entrepreneurship and how your path has probably zigzagged and went in every direction to get you to where you are right now.
Yeah, man, I feel like the best place to start is probably straight out of high school when my real adult career started, right?
Take us
And
back.
yeah. So I've done every customer service job you can think of, from like phones to working in grocery stores to all the way up to like supervisor positions. And I was always the youngest person in the group who tended to hold the higher positions of power. So I've always been like ahead of my time in that sense. And I knew that dental assisting, which is what I ended up getting my degree in, was not going to be like my end all be all. And also I was 21 and I needed a degree to make some money. So
As
I
one
got my
does.
degree. Exactly right. Like we all need to survive.
Yeah.
So I got my degree, moved on to my parents' house, all of that. And during this time I was also dancing. I grew up dancing, but I was professionally belly dancing, and it was very heavily like every single weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday was dedicated to some kind of event. And I was making really good money. Like I was making $2,000 to $3,000 a month extra. Yeah. Just
This
from
is all
dance.
making sense based off some of your real content recently that I've
Right? I
seen. I'm like, damn, girl, I'm like, this got moves. Okay.
Yeah. So being a dancer and getting attention from people for dancing isn't necessarily new. However, the way that I move through life is much newer these days. And I'll tap into that, I'm sure. But um, I at one point was actually, it was like maybe 6 months before I started coaching. It was a very interesting turn of events around that time. But I was looking at going to Egypt, like moving to Egypt and making this my full-time career. And it was also during that time that I started posting more about my personal fitness journey. At that time, I had lost 115 pounds, and it seemed, which has held true, that I was going to be successful in keeping it off. And so a lot of my friends and family were like, hey, how are you doing that over there? Do you want to teach us how? So it was really organic the way it started. I definitely wasn't one of those things like, oh, everybody's being a coach, so I want to be a coach. It was very much there was a demand for my particular flavor, and a lot of dancers too. A lot of dancers that I had danced with were very interested in how I had kind of transformed my whole life. And they had witnessed me in person too. So they saw me at each event, like getting smaller and smaller and becoming this new person each time that they saw me. So that
They're
for
like,
me
what
was
drug is she taking? We want some of
exactly, yeah.
that.
So that was how I entered the coaching world. It was by accident kind of, and I didn't really know that it was going to lead me there. But about 6 months later, I had over 10 clients and these people just kept showing up. And yeah, so my dad was like, you know that there are online coaches, babe, right? And I was like, what? No, like I had no idea that the industry existed the way that it did at this point. And this was like 2021. So like,
I know. I at this point I'm like, wait a minute, where are we? How old are you? Like
I
we
know.
just jumped from high school to I'm like, wait a minute. I'm like, how old are you? I'm
All of
like,
my
wow, maybe I'm
20s.
dating
This took
myself.
all of my 20s, right? Because I'll be 32 in June. So
Okay, okay. I was like in my head, I'm like, are
I was
you
like,
that
wait a
much younger
minute.
than me? I'm like, damn, 39. I'm so old.
Not at all.
No, of course not.
Um, so yeah, so my dad told me about it and then I looked into it and then I think it was maybe a month later I had like signed up with my first mentor who was going to guide me through setting up my health and fitness business and everything. First 6 months of my biz, great, killed it, had a bunch of 10K months and then the dry season hit. And and it has been quite a roller coaster since then. One of the things I think is worth mentioning too is I knew when I came into the industry that health and fitness was not again, I knew that wasn't like the final place for me.
Mhm.
Um, and when I first started, part of what made me different and part of what made people flock to me was the fact that I focused on more than just the body. I knew that, like, sure, health and nutrition were part of it, but because I had lost 115 pounds, when you lose an entire person, there's a lot of emotional intelligence you have to gain. Like,
Mhm.
you have to really confront yourself in so many ways.
Mhm.
Um, and that part was something that was still not really being talked about in the industry, not the way it is now, right? Now in the health and fitness, everybody talks about mindset, everybody talks about emotional health because we realize how tied it is. But even back then, a couple years ago, people still weren't really talking about it like that.
It's so interesting because I mean, being a health coach and like
Yeah.
from the get-go, that's how I got started. And what's really interesting is my twin sister lost 100 pounds.
Wow.
And so she had lost it back in 2020. And I
Wow.
launched a program in 2021 that was focused on the mindset piece behind health. But it's so interesting because she started to see, and just like you saw, and you learned through your weight loss journey that there's more, it's more than just a number on the scale. And what's really interesting, the reason that my twin sister surprised me and joined my program, and she said to me, I was like, whoa, what the heck? I didn't anticipate this. And then she said, she follows my Instagram and she's like, I just been seeing what you've been posting and you've been saying the same types of things that she was learning. She was in a medically monitored kind of weight loss program when she was doing her journey. But she had said, you're saying the same types of things that the doctors and stuff were teaching, that it's beyond the scale. Like yes, the numbers are going to drop, the weight is going to drop, but it's
Yeah.
what's happening in the mind. So I love this. And okay, carry on, keep going.
Okay. No, I love that though. Yeah, absolutely. And that was always my thing as a health and fitness coach was like, yeah, I'm going to teach you how to do that, but I'm also going to teach you about yourself because that's really what matters the most. And that's what's going to keep serving you far after our 6 months together.
Hmm.
So anyways, I had a really amazing experience during that time, but again, I knew that like that wasn't the end all be all for me. So my current business has really been a labor of love in my soul. And so when people like compliment me on it, I both take it like so deeply. Like it's like such a deep heartfelt gratitude that I'm seeing in that capacity. And also, it can be hard to explain to people how I've landed here because it's been a soul mission. It's just like I was following the signs, I was following the steps, I was following the ways that I was being pointed and unpointed and directed and undirected, and like really learning surrender, really learning to trust the process, really learning that sure, there's a lot that I can do and I am powerful. And also, there are energetics to things that we can't control.
How did you start to really learn that? Because like your soul's mission, like I just wrote that down, like That's
Yeah.
so powerful. It's so easy to say, trust the journey, trust the process. How the fuck can we trust it when we don't see clients coming in, when we don't see money coming in, when the stress starts to build? So, how did you really tap into that?
Yeah.
How did you get to that mindset?
I know, right? Well, it wasn't overnight, that's for sure. And I didn't just wake up one day like, oh yeah, I've got it. I've got
I'm
it figured
fixed. Oh,
out.
I'm tapped in.
Exactly.
Soul's mission accomplished.
Boom.
Okay.
No, I think that there was a combination of things for sure. One of them being that we, life is an experience, right? And when we take it so personally, as if there's some kind of energy out there that's out to get us, we can get really wrapped up in the ego. And when I say the ego, just so your listeners understand, I'm not talking about like the ego that everybody thinks we're talking about. All your ego is the part of you that is the most self-aware and also the most apt to take on judgment. That's what the ego is, period. So it can be really easy when we are living in a victimhood mindset to take everything personally and to feel like there is no point. And what's crazy is like I was there right before I started coaching. Like I went through the process of planning a suicide. So it's like I was about to end my journey here. And I know that this is where people struggle sometimes, but this is what happened. I was literally about to end the life I have here in this three-dimensional space. And there was this voice that came from inside of me that was like past my heart. It was so deep. And it said, "You're not done yet." And I like dropped the pills and I like started sobbing. And I was like, what? And like
Oh my
to
God,
this
I have
day, I
goosebumps all
still
over
get,
my entire
yeah, to
body.
this day, I still get like my body is
Oh, I just got
viscerally reacting
mad,
right now. Yeah.
intense shiver goosebumps.
Yeah. And I think that if we truly have a soul purpose here, that we won't be let go so easily, because I've shared this experience with other women who have been in my space, who have been clients of mine or who I've shared space with, and we have very similar experiences. And it's like when you finally find that soul mission, it's not going to be on accident, but it's also going to be so loud that you can't ignore it. Like ever since that day, it's been so loud that I
Mhm.
can't turn it down. So I've made really difficult steps, and it's not like it got easier because I found out what my mission was.
Mhm.
But
Yeah.
I've made every step since then, knowing that I was going somewhere, that this isn't for nothing. And as I make each personal step, and then I watch the 3D reality follow me, and I watch the quantum leaps that I make and my clients make, and the kind of women that I attract into my world, I'm like, there's no way that this is an accident. Like, no way.
Mhm.
So
Do
that's how
you
I,
believe? Oh no, go ahead.
no, you're good, babe. I guess that's how I went from like somebody who, because I spent a lot of my life in my wounded feminine, very much a victim of life, right? And like it was always outside circumstances' fault. But I don't know. This just that moment in and of itself, it's like turned me into this like warrior of the cosmos.
I mean, that's just incredible. And, thank you for opening up about that on here because that could definitely resonate very deeply with some of the listeners that have been at that place, maybe at that place right now. And do you believe that we all have a soul's mission?
I do. I don't believe that we are all able to embody it in this time and place, because I also believe that every soul has its own lessons that they get to learn. And it's not until we've embodied and really grounded into some of those lessons that we get to leap past surviving and into thriving. Um, Because again, if we're living in victimhood, a soul can't flourish if it thinks that it's being stifled all the time, if it thinks that it's being
Mm-hmm.
suffocated all of the time. So I
Mm-hmm.
do believe we all have a soul purpose, and I believe it's also a choice. I think that you can come with a purpose and also sleep on it your entire life.
Yeah, definitely. I believe that too. I think as well, we have a purpose. We discover these like missions and where we want to make an impact in the world. And yeah, we may not be ready in this place and time,
Hmm.
right? Maybe in 10 years,
Yeah.
maybe we truly never though open our eyes up to it. And I think we talked about this maybe on your podcast, but how something really shifted for me. I've never had like a victim mentality, but when my first coach that I worked with back in 2021, when she said to me, things happen for us, they don't happen to us.
Mm,
And I remind myself of that all the time
yeah.
when things happen in my life. And, over having your own business, a lot of things happen, and you're like, why the fuck is this happening? Like, why, universe? Why are you testing
Exactly.
me in this
Oh
way?
my
Like,
gosh.
and I,
Yeah.
I used to be like, I can't be tested anymore. Like, stop test,
Yeah.
it's just like,
Same.
why are you doing this? And
Hmm.
I'm like, I have good energy. I'm like, ugh, the karma exists. The karma is not a bitch in my life. Karma's my friend. Like, it's like all these things. I'm like, I don't get it. Why? And it's funny because I would just question, and I'm like, I'm trying to understand this happening for me, but I think that's like a major shift. And anyone listening, like, think about this. Things in your life are happening for you. They're not happening to you. Whoever the higher power, whatever you believe in, is not out to get you.
Hmm. And that can sound like such fluff, right? Like we can kind
Yeah.
of roll our eyes at it. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
must be nice to live in a world where like that's how you feel about it. But no, listen, hear me out. I'm going to share this is super new, so this is going to be really vulnerable for me, but I'm going to share it anyways, just because I feel like it's such a good example. It's such a good real life example of how letting go of the control and surrendering to the process is exactly what we need to do 99% of the time. So again, being an entrepreneur, it's like we have certain goals we want to hit, right? And I had just gotten to a point in my biz this month, literally in the month of April, where I was like, okay, with my MRR and everything, I think this might be our 10K month. I think we might be doing it. And then I had two clients ghost me. One broke a contract, the other just disappeared on her resign. Either way, because I am the healer that I am. This is very like deep and personal for me. And I woke up on Saturday. I had been waiting a few days to reach out, even though it had already been like a week since I hadn't heard from anybody. I was like, let me just
You're
give
like, bitches,
them.
where you at?
I know. I was like, oh, let me just give them a few more days. But
Mm.
so I sent the messages I needed to send. And during my meditation that morning, I had this visualization of me sending the messages and waking up the next day with 5 new followers, 5 new, very aligned followers, like women that I would work with in a heartbeat, where we wouldn't even have to have a conversation. We just know that we're aligned. By the end of Saturday, I had 7 new followers. And I truly believe if I had not stuck to my guns and sent those messages, then I would be sitting here having a pity party right now,
Mhm.
not with any new followers, probably would have lost some momentum in my biz, probably wouldn't have woken up and posted and shown up in my stories today. And like, so that's where it's like, it is happening for you, but we have to make the choice to decide that we believe that. And that if we let
Mhm.
go of the thing that we're so worried about losing, that's not serving us, it's going to make space for the thing that is going to serve us and the thing that's going to catapult us forward.
And you know what? Like the beautiful thing in that example, and thank you for sharing that because it's not easy, but I know it's a shit feeling when clients ghost you,
Oh yeah.
when clients don't pay. Like, and we had our mastermind call before this, and I mentioned to Des, I was like, I had a client that never paid me $500. Like, I will never make this mistake again. They did my
Yeah.
whole program,
And just so you
and
guys
we're
know,
like,
I was like sobbing about this an hour ago. So
yeah, she good now. She good. She got it
I'm
out,
better now.
Maybe she'll cry
Exactly.
later. That's okay. We got to feel the
Exactly.
feels. But,
Exactly.
this shit happens. Like, this is the reality, but and I'm learning more and more. And, maybe we talk a bit too on the energetics here. Like, even when these things happen, like you did what you meditated, you took the modalities and the tools that that could help to get your not only mindset, but your energy into a better place.
Yeah.
And I was listening to, I'm obsessed with Mel Robbins. I'm literally like, I want to
Love
be
her.
her.
Yeah,
One
I know.
day I'll have her on my podcast. One day I'll be on hers. I can't
I
wait.
love that though, because you are like a little mini fiery Jane
Yo,
Robin.
for real. When I heard Mel Robbins for the first time, I'm like,
Jane
are we
Robin.
related? Like, legit. I'm like, I just feel we're so like black and white, her and I. Anyway, me and Mel, BFFs.
Yes.
But I was listening to her podcast on the weekend, and she gave this amazing example about something that, like, her first ever book launch of like she's number one, like, author of many books. For the first time she self-published her book, The 5 Second Rule.
Mhm.
It went out on Amazon. Obviously, Amazon was the main thing that she was selling on, platform she was selling on. For some reason, Amazon's stock put it as out of stock. So all of her hardcover books that were up for sale from the second it got launched were listed out of stock and no one could buy them. So here she is. She spent, planning all this marketing, doing all
Yeah.
this stuff. And can you imagine this leading up? It's like as if you have a launch
Like
and
the day
Instagram goes
of.
down,
Right.
right? Like
Exactly.
you're like,
Yeah.
you lose all your emails, like everything's gone. And so she basically, obviously, was extremely frustrated. But what she did is she's like, okay, what can I do here that I can control?
Mhm.
And she spent her time and energy, as much as she had her moments that she felt down. She had her moments that she was like, this is not good. It's not a good situation, but she had to fix her energy. She's like, no, I am a number one bestseller.
Yep.
I am a number one bestseller. This has happened. I'm not going to let this ruin me. There is something, something is going to come. I don't know what it is. I don't know when this is going to resolve. Her book was unavailable on Amazon for 30 days. Within that 30 days, though, people were going to Audible because the hardcover wasn't available, but she had the Audible version.
Yeah.
She ended up being the number one Audible sales.
Ugh.
And she kept her, I know, goosebumps too. She kept her energy. And this is what's so important is, like, when we're going through hard times, when you're not seeing the money come in, when you're not seeing the clients, when you launch a program and no one signs up, when you launch a workshop or webinar and no one comes, it's like, you have to remember there's a bigger picture here. You know what I mean? You have a bigger mission. Like,
Yeah.
you still fulfill whatever it is you're there to fulfill, but that's not good. Don't allow that to derail you. We need to keep our mind and keep our thoughts on what we really want. And whatever our goals are, it's like,
Yeah.
keep your energy behind it. What
Yeah.
can you do to channel that energy where you're feeling like, that number one author, where you're feeling like a successful coach? What
Mhm.
can you do? We can't lose that vision. And when I heard that story, it's amazing because I know, and it's just through years, like, 4 straight years of nonstop, like, mindset, personal development work, that I
Yeah.
know if something doesn't work out, it's also 333 right now. So that's a good sign. If something doesn't work out, so it's only because something better is coming. And so it's like, if we allow something not working out to completely lower our vibe, where we're like, well, fuck, I might as well give up. Why am I doing this? Well, then no, of course not. Something better is not going to come because you're lowering your vibe. You're not feeling good. And chances are you're still not showing up in the same way. But if we just have to, like, push that aside and truly hold on to the thought that something better could be coming. You don't even need to imagine the better, because you probably can't, because it's going to be so fucking
Yeah.
great and it's going to come from nowhere. You're going to be like, what the fuck? And it's not until it happens, like, some people will be listening to this right now and be like,
They're like,
what
these
drug is
bitches are
she on?
crazy.
Like
I know.
literally, yeah, literally like, I think you might need to go back and listen to it again because I know it doesn't make sense. Like it really doesn't. But I can tell you that one of the easiest things to do is to reflect back on your life.
Yeah.
Reflect back on things that happened in your life, like a breakup that happened, or a
Mhm.
relationship didn't work out, or, maybe something, a separation with family members, whatever it
Mhm.
is, you got let go from a job. Look at the situation that happened that didn't go your way and follow the steps. Think about the steps that happen after. What did that open up for you? Chances are you weren't worse off.
Yeah.
It could have caused
Yeah.
stress, no doubt. Could have caused anxiety, could have caused like a low moment. But we have to remember whenever there's a dip, there's a rise.
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions about embodiment and energetics, period, is that it's like this extra thing we have to do. But if
Mm.
you're already meditating, if you're already doing breath work, if you already do like a little vibey dance every day, you're already doing the things. It's the intention behind it, right? That's how we really create a channel for movement from it. So it's like I could be very embodied in being sad about this, and I could let this thing dictate my reality. Or I could be embodied in the conviction and devotion that I have for what I'm doing and know that it is so much a part of who I am, not just what I do, who I am, that these two people I have to let go of is making room for 20 more who are going to be able to receive and reciprocate, right? Because I'm also not like, I'm not a fluffy coach. Like, I'm not a surface level person. When you come into my space, I'm going to take you deep. And I love hard. And also, these two people are not the end all be all of that, right? My love it comes from within me. So I get to decide where that energy goes and how that energy flows. So meditation and breath work sounds like you're like, Des, how did that really flip your whole like day around? You guys, I woke up that morning and I was like, fuck this. Like I literally was just like, I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't know what else to do. Like I've been through all of this for the last 6 months. In the last 6 months, I've been through like more ego death, more shadow work, more everything than I feel like I have been in the last 4 years. um but I also feel the most authentic, the most aligned, the most amazing in my business that I've ever felt. And so if I stop now, like who am I suffocating? Me, nobody else. I'm
Mhm.
not hurting anybody else. It's me, and I'm stifling my own vision, which again, at this point, it's like my future self is so close to me that like I can't stop. Even if I wanted to, I feel like she'd be like, excuse me, I see
Yeah,
you.
your future self is like, yo, bitch, let's go. Come
Exactly.
on. You're literally a step away. Like, pick up your fucking foot
Exactly.
and take the step. Like,
Exactly.
literally.
Yeah. So energetics and embodiment really is just like it's knowing our own nervous system and knowing how to use our body as the channel for
Mhm.
what we want to create rather than letting it become like a piñata of other people's actions and a series of life experiences that we can't necessarily control. And also coming from somebody who was diagnosed with chemical depression and anxiety, like I used to think that I was going to live that way forever. There was no way out of feeling, just waking up feeling a certain way. And these tools have literally changed the chemical reaction of my nervous system. So,
And yeah, energy, it's always flowing. We're always feeling it. And I know it's not something that the average person taps into with themselves, and we get so caught up in doing shit, like in
yep.
doing things. And I think it it truly can be as simple of the modality you chose, meditation and breath work. It's like for me, if it's journaling or what, it literally can
Yeah.
be that simple to shift your energy. Like it
Mhm.
really can, if you allow it to be. also it's important to, it's taken me time to realize like what works for me,
Yeah, something
and
different works for everybody differently. Yeah.
100%. And I think sometimes when things don't work out the way that we want, we end up like sitting in this pity party. It's like you're sitting at your computer. What can I do? I should be doing more. Okay, so I didn't get
Mhm.
all the clients in the program I wanted. Okay, what should I do? Well, I guess I should be like creating more content, or, you start hyper analyzing everything that you did when really it's like, okay, what can I learn from this?
Mhm.
And also take a fucking step away.
Yeah.
Like I know myself when I start to feel like, for sure, if I feel any type of anxiety or whatever, I'm like, get away from my laptop. I
Yep.
cannot create from that energy. And
No.
I know when I'm tired, like I know, because I start my days early at 5:30 a.m., like meetings. And so I know that by a certain time in the day, sometimes I want it. I'm like, okay, I want to be doing this. I want to be creating some post or content. I'll spend like a fucking hour and a half in Canva dicking around. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I love design. So it's like, but it's
Yeah.
so funny. Like, I'll just be freaking doing shit because I feel like in my head, I'm like, okay, I should. I wrote on my to-do list, I was going to do this. And then I'll catch myself like an hour in, and I'm like, yo, why am I doing this? Like literally
Mhm.
shut the computer. Like my energy is not behind
Your
it. I
energy's
am
not
not
in it. Yeah.
exactly. And then I wake up the next day, I like all of a
Yep.
sudden, like literally 10
Word
minutes, I got
vomit.
it
It's like,
done.
oh,
No, exactly. And so I think it's just, yeah, energy is so key. So it's like, again, in this podcast, I'm trying to teach you things, right? I'm bringing all these cool people to share with you their experiences because we know, full stop, and I say this all the time, there is more to a successful business than just strategy.
mm,
So when we've done all the courses, we do the shit, we get the
yep.
coaches, we do what they say.
Yep.
You hit those 5K months, you hit those maybe 10K months, you want to grow further, but then we get stuck.
Mhm.
And it's like there has to be a point. There's a point where we literally need to do something different. And we need to start tapping into, okay, so I'm doing all the strategies, but obviously something's not really panning out here. So this is where the embodiment, this is where those energetics, it's like get in tune with your body. Like
Yeah.
really do
Because
that.
where you're leading from is going to dictate where you're going for sure. And if you keep leading from the strategy, you're only ever going to get what the strategy has given you.
Right? A
Yeah.
thousand percent. And
Yeah.
also too, when you're applying someone else's strategy to your business, which might have gotten them great success and it
Mhm.
very well might get you success, how do you feel implementing that strategy? Like, are you just doing it because you're wanting to get the exact chances are because you want to get the result that you saw someone else
Right.
get? Who wouldn't want to make
Are you
180K
following the
months,
steps?
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like our coach, like I'm like,
I
yo,
know.
you're doing this shit. What are you doing? I'm gonna analyze her Instagram. You know what I mean? It's
I
like
know.
who, like of course, but it's so silly because it's really like 180K months is there.
Yeah,
It is literally
it's
available for me
real.
right now.
Yeah, people are
And then
experiencing
it's like,
it.
okay,
Mhm.
yeah, am I embodying someone that makes 180K months?
Yeah,
Above and beyond various offers you would need to have to bring in 180K months, like am I mentally there? Like
yeah,
do I have am I showing up as this person? And
yeah,
that's really as we speak about your like our future selves, and our future self is just like she's there, like
yeah.
she's like okay,
You are her already.
yes, we exactly, she is inside you
Yeah,
wanting to be unleashed.
exactly.
And she's like, open your eyes, girl, to
Mhm.
what is literally in front of you, but you can't see because we put those blinders on.
Yeah. Ugh, amen.
Oh my gosh. So, talk me through a little bit when you're working with your clients on really like focusing in on like full expression and authenticity to really, this leads into embodiment and to get them to like, I mean, tell us a little bit about some of these end results of where your clients get to.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay. One of my favorites is I have two like favorite stories that always come to mind. One is an entrepreneur, and she was someone who I worked with at the end of last year. So this was actually before I had any kind of real like significant offers or anything built. I was just starting from scratch again. And I had call packages at the time. So I was offering like 4 and 8 call packages. I think she did like an 8 call package. Anyways, though, this is a woman who I would have pedestaled before, and like I would have been like, no way, she wants to work with me. What? And kind of in a way, at that time, I still kind of was. I was like, I can't believe I'm about to be on the phone with this person. But she was sure she was making 10 to 15K months, but she wasn't having fun. She hated her business. Like she hated showing up for her business every day. And she's like, I want to be in a place that I love showing up for work, that like I can't wait to show up for work. She's like, I want to love it so much that I love it more than my kids, which was like a joke just because she's such a good mom.
Yeah.
She's very
Yeah.
involved in her kids' life. And so um we went through like the process of getting to know herself, which is something she had never really
Mm.
done. Like, really get intimate with who you are and what you desire and what lights you up and how do you want to help people and how do you want to serve the world. Like, because she's also someone who has a very similar mindset. Obviously, we attract like energy, right? So
Mhm.
she's very interested in helping the collective rise as much as herself rise. And she's like, I just feel so stuck in this box of like, I have to talk about business and that's what the people want. And they want the strategy and the framework and that's how I make my money. And I was like, yeah, but you now established a name and oh my gosh, what's it called? What's the word? Not a resume. Why am I blanking on the word?
Like a curriculum?
No, not a curriculum. A reputation.
Oh,
Thank
reputation, like
you. Yes,
authority.
exactly. You've
Mhm.
now established a name and a reputation, so you can change it if you want. But she was so,
Yeah.
there was no safety in her body to explore her expression. So
Mm.
even if she had wanted to do it, she wouldn't have known where to start. And that's really what I do. I tell people when they come into my world, especially women who are entrepreneurs and healers, I'm the healer's healer. I'm your Mary Magdalene. Like, this is where you get to come and be and figure out what you want for you, because you can solve everyone else's problems and still feel unfulfilled as fuck. I've worked with
Oh, yeah.
miserable millionaires, right? So it's like, I understand exactly how you can have all this money and still feel locked up and trapped. When we were finished with our 2 months together, she had completely changed her business. So she had shifted out of business into energetics, which is what she wanted to be working in. She had had her first 20K month in over a year. Yeah. And she had also um renewed her vows, which was amazing because when her and I first started talking, she was talking about leaving her husband. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's one. And again, this is all like just focusing on the self-expression and energetics of it, right? And then another one that comes to mind, and this is just because I saw so much of myself in her, like I literally was where she was at one point. She was 5 years into her relationship, and it was like everything was going how it was supposed to go, but she wasn't feeling pulled into it. And yet they were still talking about getting engaged and buying a house together, and she was just kind of going through the motions, and she's like, yeah, it sounds fine. And within our first call together, she had decided to break up with him. And it wasn't because of anything that I
No,
did.
of course not. She
And it
discovered
was
that. Hmm.
exactly, it wasn't even a knee-jerk reaction. It was just that she needed a safe place to land with all of these things going on in her head that she felt like she couldn't share with anybody and that nobody would understand. And like, she had a twin sister. So funny that you also have a twin. She had a twin
Hmm.
sister and they've been through a lot of the same things. And she still felt like she couldn't even talk to her because her twin sister was like, well, he's great. And like, why don't you love him? Why aren't you more excited about this? And so she's getting all this noise but she feels so unfulfilled and so numbed out. And by the end of that first call, she had decided to break up with him. And then by the end of our month together, again, she was another one who did call packages. By the end of our month together, she had quit her 9 to 5. She was already like VAing for people, but she had made it like her full-time thing. And I think she hit like 10K her first month or something. I don't really remember. But she was making enough that she was like over there traveling in Thailand, and now she's, I think, in India or Bali or something. And like she's just living her best life. I'm watching her and I'm like, oh. But yeah, that's really the power of like self-expression and reclaiming the lost authority that's within us, especially as women. Especially as women, I think we have so many layers that contribute to us suffocating our truth,
Mm-hmm.
and like the beauty that could be in our lives if we just honored and lived and expressed our truth. But again, like creating the safety is huge. It's huge.
Oh, 1,000%. Those are such amazing stories, and like those types of transformations. It shows the true power when you have a safe space
Yeah.
to talk about what you really want, because it is not easy. And I know when working with my clients, it's like, it's not easy when you're 30 plus years old and you've followed a path and you're having this conversation about what you really want and what you would really dream about. And it could be so different from what you're doing now. It could be not far off from what you're doing now,
Mhm.
but we just end up going down a path. And I mean, I've always been a big risk taker, so I'm not afraid to create my own. And I've always been
Mhm.
like that, but that's not always common. And a lot of the clients I work with, it's like, but what if, oh, I could never do that now because I've already been doing this for so long, and I'll have
Mhm.
to start back at nothing and blah, 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 insert
Yeah.
excuse, all these reasons. And they're all valid, of course. And it's so beautiful that you create this space for your clients to rediscover things about themselves. And you're exactly right. It's like when I'm getting my clients to dream, it's
Mm,
like, what do you really want? And it's so
yeah.
amazing. It's so crazy slash not, because when someone asked me that question back in 2021, when my coach asked that, I was like, what do I really want? And I didn't really know. Like I
Yeah.
knew what entrepreneur doesn't want freedom. Like, you know what
Right.
I mean? But it's like I was like, well, I want the travel, some of the travel life I had before. Like, and but I really had to sit on it and allow my mind to run wild, and for me to really think about what type of lifestyle I want, because, yeah, we go down this path and
Yep.
then we don't identify what we really want, and we do what we think we should do, which
Hmm.
could be the complete opposite of our own self-expression of what
Yeah.
truly brings us joy. And you're exactly right. Like, it doesn't matter. You could have everything on paper and
It
still
looks
feel
great on
unhappy
paper.
and
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
1,000%. We all look great on paper. And
Right.
it's like, but at the end of the day, at the end of your week, you're like, why am I doing this? Like this, it's like soul sucking, right? Like it's like sucking your
Exactly.
soul versus like our soul's
Exactly.
mission, the complete opposite.
It's
Or
the
like,
opposite.
yeah, exactly. Like your poor soul is like, no,
It's like,
stop. But we just ignore the signs. And the unfortunate thing
Mm,
is, living an unhappy life is far too normal for too many people.
yeah.
And then they just like, individuals, not myself, but bitch about it with their friends or whatnot, who are
Hmm.
all living unhappy lives.
Hmm.
And that's not what we're here for. So like really we're just
Yeah.
trying to open your eyes that you know, by taking a different perspective. If you're really unhappy right now, if you're, maybe an entrepreneur, you're doing all the steps, taking all the steps, and you're not feeling successful. Like the other thing too is it's all subjective. So it's
Right.
like we downplay all the time our own success
Yeah.
by using the word only.
Yep.
or just, I
Yep.
only got this. I just got that. And it's like, why we need to start celebrating more of that. But it's like really tapping into how your business is making you feel, how your life is making you feel. If it's not making you feel good, someone's got to shift
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
big time. Des, this was absolutely amazing. We talked about so many
Oh,
things.
good.
Oh
I
my God.
know. Wow.
It was so juicy, so juicy. So I'm gonna have all of your links in the show notes, but where do you show up? How can individuals get in touch with you? What do you got going on? You got like a freebie, something that they can check out?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, first of all, IG's my place. That's where I hang out 99% of the time. So that's where you guys can find me.
Get
Um,
ready when you check her profile. You're gonna be like, holy shit.
yeah, bring the tissues and
I'm
maybe
literally like, I need a new photo shoot. I'm like, can I switch my profile? I'm like, this is a
maybe bring
bit
the panty
for
liners with you.
it's a racy, spicy, spicy.
But yeah, I'm on Instagram. I am Desiree Lakeisha, and that's where pretty much everything's hanging out right now. I did just start my podcast as well. So Jane's episode will be on there probably sometime later this week. And you can check me out there. I have a separate Instagram page for that, XOXO Desiree Lakeisha. Um, and then as far as my offers go, right now, I've just actually extended my one-on-one into some different tiers. So this is super new and I'm super excited about it. But I have everything starting from like a 2-week intensive where we kind of get to know each other and be super subject topic based, all the way up into like a full muse and immersion of energy with other feminines. Um, and then as far as my freebies go, I have one that I'm sending like a link. So if you ever come into my space and you want it, just talk to me about the Trinity, Feminine Trinity. That's a self-led workshop, 3-part series. And then my favorite thing that I have going on in my world right now is my activation portal, which is also free. It's a 3-day experience that's live mentorship with me and other women in co-creation and collaboration. And this portal coming up in May is going to be only my second one, so it's going to be a little different from the first one, where I'm also going to be ending with a live ecstatic dance class. So I'm excited about that.
It is not only your second, it is your
It is
second.
my second, right?
Girl,
I say
it's your
only in
second, and
terms
it's
of
gonna
like
be even.
experimentation, right? I'm like still figuring it out and finding my flow, but that's the fun part. I love it. So,
Oh my God, so many amazing. So go check her out. You're gonna die. And she in the best possible way.
yeah,
And Des, this is amazing. Thank you so much for being on here.
so dope. Thank you, babe.